The CEO is manipulative and verbally abusive, often belittling others instead of providing constructive feedback. Female staff are verbally harassed. Employees are often pressured into working overtime as well as weekends. Abusive CEO. The CEO would gossip about employees behind their backs to other staff run by people who don't play games. Is completely disconnected with what our audience wants and likes, and is really only concerned with what will make them the most money. Often reminded of our expendability by higher-ups. Your employees are humans. Anti-consumer and anti-creative decisions. The CEO has made sexist and racist jokes, shady, verbally abusive, unpredictable. The CEO and executive leadership are either abusive, with upper negligent, and HR fire and misogyny, leading to an overall sense of dread and fear as to who is going to get fired. The CEO on their bad side and needs to step down.
Here we go again.
2 years ago, I made a video detailing the Poppy Playtime creators' history of abusive behavior based on interviews I did with former associates of theirs like Eckercoaster and Faint Turnip. The video ruffled a lot of feathers, but ultimately Mob Entertainment CEO Zach Bell took responsibility for the things he'd done as a young man and insisted that he was regretful. Young people often make foolish decisions, God knows I did, and I personally decided to give Zach and his friends the benefit of the doubt. Oh, they deleted the apology. Huh. Unfortunately, in the years since that video, as Mob Entertainment has grown, there have been more and more allegations from both former and current employees suggesting that Poppy Playtime's creators have fostered a toxic work environment requiring excessive overtime, as well as allegations of abusive and sexist behavior from the company's leadership team, and in particular, CEO Zach Bell. These reviews came to my attention when they first started to emerge, but I didn't think too much of them. Glassdoor is a site where people can anonymously review the companies they've worked for, and to be honest, I kind of hate it. While it's pretty easy to filter out fake reviews from people who obviously never worked somewhere, even then, these pages almost universally skew negative. It makes sense. You're way more likely to write a review upon having a negative experience versus when you've had a positive one. So while I found these early reviews concerning, I didn't feel like they were that substantial. One disgruntled employee usually isn't cause for alarm. However, as time passed, more and more people began to share their experiences working at Mob Entertainment, and I started to notice a pattern. Most of them praised their fellow staff members who were on the front lines with them, yet had awful things to say about Zach and the other executives. A review from December of 2023, just a few months ago, states that the CEO is manipulative and verbally abusive, often belittling others instead of providing constructive feedback. Another claims the CEO is rarely present, which is actually a pro, because when in attendance, he is unpleasant, shady, verbally abusive, unpredictable, and often makes decisions that are overall detrimental. They claim the CEO has made sexist and racist jokes/remarks, that when employees experience harassment, little to nothing is done about it. There are serious problems with upper management, including abusive and misogynistic behavior and an overall lack of real experience. The CEO would gossip about employees behind their backs to other staff in the office. As I mentioned before, these are anonymous, and thus we need to be skeptical of them, but there's such an obvious recurring pattern involving accusations of toxic, abusive, and misogynistic behavior that the burden of proof starts to shift. Furthermore, in light of Poppy's creators' history with bullying Eckercoaster, which again isn't up for dispute, they admitted to and apologized for, this evidence, while circumstantial, starts to become more compelling. Unfortunately, the allegations that Poppy Playtime's leadership team is sexist and abusive are only the tip of the iceberg. Another recurring criticism is that the executives have fostered an environment of fear where everyone is constantly worried about them or their colleagues losing their jobs for arbitrary reasons. The CEO and executive leadership are either abusive, negligent, and/or will fire employees for simply getting on their bad side, leading to an overall sense of dread and fear as to who is going to get fired next. The fear of being fired. Executive leadership is oppressive and rarely takes accountability for mismanagement, fostering a culture where employees are hesitant to voice concerns due to the fear of termination. Employees being afraid to complain is only exacerbated by the allegations that Mob Entertainment is overworking their staff and demanding unreasonable hours from them. Employees are often pressured into working overtime, as well as weekends. The work culture, as described by the director, presumably Poppy Playtime director Isaac Christopherson, a place that has built-in crunch. We need people who like to work. Sure enough, this is a recurring issue in a lot of the entries. Pressure to work overtime. Employees are constantly forced to crunch with little to no appreciation showed by management. Deadlines are often arbitrary, exacerbating the crunch further. Unrealistic deadlines result in crazy amounts of stress and poor organization. They're unafraid to crunch for long periods of time. Projects are often mismanaged and deadlines are unreasonable. In case you're not aware, crunch is compulsory overtime during the development of a game. It's a toxic thing and it's an industry-wide problem, so I don't want to roast Poppy Playtime too hard over it, but at the same time, the idea that they have built-in crunch is profoundly stupid. If your production schedule necessitates people being required to work more than their standard hours, then you failed as leadership. It's an admission that management set unreasonable expectations from the get-go, and it's the employees who end up working tons of overtime that suffer for it. Sure, sometimes shit happens and you need to work overtime, but this allegation that Poppy's directors are planning on their employees needing to crunch is insane and shows a complete lack of respect for the people who work for them. Furthermore, if you plan for crunch and unforeseen problems inevitably occur, you're really screwed because you've already stretched all of your resources to their limits. This whole allegation seems very similar to when Elon Musk bought Twitter and then emailed all the staff at 2 in the morning to tell them that they were going to need to be extremely hardcore and work long hours at high intensity. What a dick. So you might be asking yourself, are all of these entries negative? No, about half are positive, and to be fair to Mob Games, we're gonna go over them. However, even these positive ones sort of reinforce a lot of the allegations that we see in the most negative ones. For example, awesome group of folks, fun environment, great and talented coworkers, strong communication with management. Sometimes turnaround is pretty tight. Good environment, funny, good people, and a good place. Sometimes we work overtime. A learning company, cool projects, amazingly talented team, collaborative environment, anyone can be promoted. Tight deadlines. Awesome people, very talented, great company. The gas mask was a pain to program. Advice to management. A little less greed, please. Oh God. Dude, this person's an idiot because now everyone at Mob Games knows exactly who they are. Like, how hard do you think it is for the management team to go, hey, who programmed the gas mask? Because they think we're greedy assholes. If none of Mob Games executives had seen this until now, well, sorry. Work might be kind of awkward tomorrow morning when the greedy managers confront you over this. Greed is the most interesting allegation made by former employees. One of the reviews describes Mob Entertainment as a game studio run by people who don't play games. Another states that anti-consumer and anti-creative decisions plague the company. The executive team is completely out of touch with their audience. Executive leadership is completely disconnected with what our audience wants, likes, and is really only concerned with what will make them the most money in the immediate future. Projects that would have a good chance at success are oftentimes snuffed out before they've ever been given a fair chance. In the most damning allegation, a media producer at Mob Entertainment states, lots of problems at this company, including low wages, shady and illegal activity, and inconsistency. Okay, hold up. Shady and illegal activity? You can't just say that without any evidence or context. That's actually probably libelous. All of these allegations are bad, but they beg the question, why? Poppy Playtime is Mob Entertainment's flagship product. Why would they have crunch time built into it? How could they possibly be as out of touch and disconnected from their audience as these reports suggest? Well, it's because Mob Entertainment isn't really a game developer. They're a toy company. Poppy Playtime isn't their main product. These are. The other day, a friend of mine was asking me about my YouTube channel, and I mentioned how the new Poppy Playtime game had come out and that it was a big event amongst my audience. Oh, I know Poppy Playtime. My kids love that show. They watch it all the time. Her kids are 6 and 8 years old, respectively. Obviously, these kids were not playing Poppy Playtime. I don't think anyone questions that the content in these games is wholly inappropriate for a 6-year-old. Instead, they were watching this.
I'm Jumbo Josh. No, stop! I can't do this anymore, man. I can't do it!
What makes Poppy Playtime so unusual is that a lot of the content that would typically be produced by fans of a franchise like this is actually produced in-house by Mob Entertainment. Music videos, VHS tapes, and the spin-off cartoon, Fazbear and Friends, which features cute Minecraft-style versions of the Poppy Playtime cast, and I admit, it's actually really well made and often pretty funny.
The game starts in 3, 2, 1, go!
I got this! This be a kiddies game!
Blue.
It's also like totally appropriate for kids, even really young ones, which makes the fact that the games are like this a bit weird. Get bitch. This got me thinking. Considering how violent these games are, what with literally hundreds of people being killed and devoured in a series of photorealistic images, how does Mob Games sell backpacks and t-shirts to kids when their parents see the giant M rating next to Poppy Playtime? Poppy Playtime is rated M, right? I mean, it's got blood, dismemberment, realistic depictions of human death. By the rules of the ESRB and the international equivalents, Poppy must be rated M. Or it's not rated at all? Hang on, that can't be. Poppy Playtime had a console release. It's out on PlayStation and Switch, and Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft all demand that every game published on their platforms have an ESRB rating. So what was Poppy rated on PlayStation and Switch? Teen. Oh, wait, this is just Chapter 1 though. Chapter 1 doesn't have much violence at all, just a brief moment where Huggy smashes his head against a pipe and leaves behind a bloodstain, and most people won't even notice it.
Double. Nice, we got it.
Teen is actually a perfectly reasonable rating for Poppy Playtime Chapter 1. It's not until Chapters 2 and 3 that the violence really gets turned up to Mortal Kombat levels. So what were the console ports of Chapter 2 rated? Nothing. There were no console ports for Poppy Playtime Chapter 2. What? Wait a minute, could that be why there's no console ports of Chapters 2 and 3? Poppy Playtime is made in the Unreal Engine. Porting it to consoles should be really straightforward. I mean, there can be issues, and it's not uncommon for console ports to be delayed by a few weeks or months, but Poppy Playtime Chapter 2 came out years ago. If Mob Entertainment wanted to port it to Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch, they would have. It's so little effort relative to the huge amounts of money the game stands to make on consoles, and we know for a fact that Mob can do it. They've successfully ported Chapter 1 to PlayStation, Switch, and even mobile phones. The game is already done. They've already spent all that time and money on development, so why wouldn't they release it everywhere? Well, the Poppy Playtime chapters are released as DLC to the base game. They aren't sequels. If Mob Games were to suddenly release the DLC for Chapters 2 and 3 on consoles, they'd need to reaffirm that the game's existing teen rating stands, and once you add Chapters 2 and 3 into the mix, it doesn't. The entire game needs to become M-rated, and that's a problem when Mob Entertainment's primary source of revenue comes from selling backpacks and stuffed animals to elementary school kids. I think this is why Poppy Chapters 2 and 3 never came to console.
No! Let go!
Mob Entertainment knows that they can't release the subsequent chapters on consoles without losing their age 12 rating. Suddenly, it all started to make sense. How could the executives at Mob Entertainment act so frivolously with the development of their game? Poppy Playtime is their flagship product, so why would they risk screwing up something so important with poor planning, overworked staff, abusive behavior, and a mostly absent CEO? Why would the console ports of their game, which would enable countless Poppy fans who don't have PCs to play it, be indefinitely delayed? It's because they don't care. Poppy Playtime, the game, is just an engine for the merch machine, the real revenue stream. When Poppy Playtime was first becoming popular, this now infamous news report emerged, depicting a group of clueless news anchors acting appalled and concerned by Poppy Playtime, or as they describe it, the Huggy Wuggy game.
And it's called, innocently enough, the Huggy Wuggy game. And while it may sound innocent, like I said, it could actually be really traumatic for some children.
This clip is amazing, and it's hilarious at how little preparation these people did before going on air. It seems that their entire impression of Poppy Playtime was based off of a fan-made music video that they'd seen, and not the actual game.
I saw this article and I couldn't believe it.
It's blue, it kind of looks like Cookie Monster, but it has really big teeth.
Is it just scaring them, or are they actually taking on some of the actions of this creature?
Yeah.
While this clip is really funny, the ironic part is that their impression of Poppy Playtime and Huggy Wuggy is actually far more tame than reality. These moms were acting appalled despite believing that all Huggy Wuggy did was sing and dance and be creepy.
Yeah, so apparently in the game, the character that you just saw goes around and hugs people and whispers really creepy songs into their ears.
Actually, he kills you and devours your corpse, but sure. When you search Poppy Playtime on YouTube today, the very first thing that shows up is the official Mob Games produced music video for Sleep Well, their collaboration song with CG5. And sure enough, CG5 is the mastermind behind all of this. I'm just kidding, CG5 has nothing to do with this. This video depicts the Hour of Joy as the evil toys all having a parade and lying in the grass together. Was that what the Hour of Joy was like? Everyone singing and dancing and having a parade?
Nah, man, we just killed everybody and then devoured their rotting corpses.
Exactly.
It was awesome.
To a lot of parents, this is what Poppy Playtime is, and I think that's by design. Mob Entertainment made Poppy Playtime, a game that's objectively very violent, and then turned around and made a series of spin-offs targeted towards young children whose parents would then buy them backpacks. Someone buying all 3 Poppy Playtime chapters on Steam will spend roughly $25, and that's assuming the game isn't on sale, in which case it'd be even less than that. Steam takes 30% of the revenue, leaving at most $17.50 per sale. Meanwhile, this Dog Day plush? $38. The Catnap Night Sky backpack? $55. Even being ridiculously conservative with their margins, especially considering that some of these are pre-orders and thus have perfect margins, it's obvious that this is Mob Entertainment's real business. They've figured out that kids don't need to have played the games to buy merch. In fact, the less their parents know about the games, the better. Poppy Playtime Chapter 3 just came out, and it's Mob Entertainment's biggest release ever. Furthermore, it was well received. People enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. However, if you go to poppyplaytime.com right now, how far do you think you need to scroll before the game is even mentioned? They've got the onesie, they've got the ludicrously expensive plushies, they've got apparel, they've got gift cards, and then, finally, at the very bottom of the page, hidden away, it's almost like Mob Entertainment is hiding Chapter 3 from the parents that will inevitably come to the site to buy their kid a Huggy Wuggy backpack. It's easy for a kid to convince their mom to buy them a shirt or plushie from this, whereas if your 8-year-old asked you for a backpack featuring this character, you might be a bit taken aback. And when the game doesn't matter, when it's all just fuel for your questionably appropriate preteen merch machine, yeah, I can see how that might lead to callous behavior from the leadership team. I could see how that leads to an absentee CEO, unreasonable deadlines, a toxic work environment, and greed. I mean, why give a shit if the game doesn't really matter? But hey, that's just a theory. A conspiracy theory. Thanks for watching. Wait, Choo Choo Charles kills Steve while rapping animation? What kind of title is that? I wonder what happens in this video. Oh, Choo Choo Charles kills Steve while rapping. How could I have guessed? It's like they just didn't give a shit at all. Like, hey, what was this video about? It's Choo Choo Charles. He kills Steve while he's rapping. It's an animation. All right, let's just go with that.